Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to my channel for another Threezero DLX scale Iron Man figure unboxing and review. Today we're taking a look at, yes, the Mark 42 based off his appearance in Iron Man 3. A polarizing film and a polarizing look for Iron Man that just so happens to be one of my favourites. Now I do have to say a huge thank you to Threezero for sending me this production sample. If you are looking to grab your very own Mark 42, he is available direct from them. Their website is in the description below. If you are heading down there, why not hit that subscribe, bell notification icon and join button, so you're notified as soon as a brand new review goes live on the channel. As for the box art, I don't care what anyone says, I love the Mark 42, unapologetically so. Front and center we have an image of him. Look at that color palette, so different and so striking. Up the top, Infinity Saga, down below Iron Man 3. Then off to the side, some circuitry, done in metallic gold foil. The little bits of circuitry have always been my favourite bits of detail on the packaging for these DLX figures. What I didn't realise until now, however, is they're unique to each Iron Man suit. I thought they were all the same. I guess I just wasn't looking close enough. Got more circuitry on the side, his name once again, Iron Man Mark 42, and the Threezero hologram. Around the back, warnings, including this one. This is not a toy, only suitable for ages 15 or above, if you were wondering. Around the front, you can flip open the top cover, it's held in place with Velcro, and that reveals an open window showcasing the figure inside. I cannot wait to get him out here, we are this close. On the lid, we've got a couple of shots of the 42, showcasing his LEDs and also his wrist rocket, for some reason. I guess they just really wanted you to know that he comes with a wrist rocket. Actually, no, scratch that, he comes with 2 wrist rockets. First in-hand impressions in the baggie, he feels nice and hefty and cold to the touch. Even through the bag, you can tell there is metal here. Also, the finish. Threezero, y'all are spoiling me. You have outdone yourselves. What we are going to do now, though, is get all of his accessories laid out in the light box and take a closer look at everything he comes with. Starting off with the display base first, which I really like. It is pretty straightforward. It's a nice thin base. It says Infinity Saga up top. It's cast in black plastic, and it's slightly grippy. The surface is not shiny. Then it's functional. Around the front it's flat, towards the back it's flat, so you can push this up against the back of your cabinet. And if you have multiple of these figures from the DLX line, all the bases are consistent, so it's a really cohesive look. And they should connect up because the points on the sides, they're not too crazy. Up front, Iron Man Mark 42. Tony, you really should have ditched the Roman numerals after, say, Mark 10. 42 just doesn't look great in Roman numerals. Up top we have a multi-jointed flight pole arm. It hinges side to side, forward and back. It also swivels. Then up for the connector, it hinges and it hinges again. It also connects up in a pretty secure and different way. This is not a waist clamp and it's not a crotch grabber. You'll see what I mean later. You remember these little doohickeys? It's the wrist rockets from the unboxing segment. We've got the missiles around the front, up the top this metallic red panel, a sneak preview of the finish for the 42 if you will. And down the bottom, a peg and also a peg port. So that should give you a rough idea as to how these connect onto the figure. For blast effects, we get 2 different sizes. These shorter ones, which are slightly chonkier on the bottom, then the longer ones. I prefer the longer ones. I think Threezero just ditched the smaller ones. These ones just look better and more realistic. For hands that are compatible, 2 different options. We've got these with the kick up for the hand armor, then the other set where the hand armor is straight up and down. Now, the paint applications for the blast effects, pretty good. Translucent plastic for the main body of the blast, and at the bottom for the ejection point, if you will, there is some frosted airbrush shading. Now, installing these, it actually hurts. You have to push against these prickly sections to plug this into the hands or the feet. And when you're doing that, you can see this spike is awfully close to my finger, so when you're doing it, just be careful. Look, as long as you like open palm hands, you are covered. You get so many different open palm hands for the repulsor blasting pose. Some of them have the angled wrist peg connectors and hand armor, others don't. Some of them have the effect ports that you can plug the blast effects into, and other ones they've got painted silver repulsors. The actual hands themselves, they're all painted in the exact same way, metallic red and soft champagne gold. What we are going to do now though is get the MK42 himself out here. Standing straight up and down in the light box, no crazy poses or accessories or anything like that. I'm very glad that Threezero decided to space out the releases between the 42 and the 43. Can you imagine if they didn't? These guys, they are relatively expensive for their size. So Threezero would have dropped the 43, then very shortly after dropped the 42 with the exact same mold. People would have been furious. They would have said, what the hell, Threezero? I just purchased the 43. Now you want me to purchase the same mold again? Is that all this line is? Just repaints over and over and over again? No, it isn't. We have plenty of unique molds. And because Threezero spaced the releases out so drastically between these two suits, it still feels fresh and it feels different, and I'm so happy about that. The proportions, on point, paint applications, oh, you already know, Threezero nails the paint. I wouldn't mind seeing, though, in the future, a little bit of chipping and battle damage and wear and tear, just some extra surface detail to make the suits look that much more realistic. Up close and personal, kicking things off with the MK42's helmet. It's aged well. For those of you who don't know, this was the first mold that Threezero ever used in their DLX line. And the skeleton, the internal structure, it has been the backbone of every single DLX figure since. They all use pretty much the same engineering, the same internal structure. So this helmet, when I say it's aged well, I mean it. We first saw it with the MK43, and then it makes sense they've also used it for the MK42. The panel lines are sharp, the faceplate is a separate piece, so that groove is very, very deep. It actually looks like a proper mechanical thing. It's not, it doesn't open. The gold is this soft muted gold with this metallic flake to it, and the hot rod red is beautiful. It's rich and deep and very, very shiny. Don't forget, there are multiple colours at play here. We don't just have the red and the gold. We've also got some darker gold in certain sections, like right here, almost rose gold, if you will. Then some silver, and some washes in the crevices that kind of acts like panel lining. As good as it looks in certain sections, like underneath the shoulder pads, you can see that wash in there as plain as day, highlighting that detail. They've used it way too sparingly. Underneath these flaps, there is no wash, so the little thrusters and all this detail, it's just lost in the bright silver, unfortunately. The flaps can open, and there are some very noticeable hinges. Threezero, after this mold, they got a lot better at hiding the hinges. These, they're not actually hidden, they're just sitting there in plain sight. Not a deal breaker for me. If it is for you, then okay, the deal has been broken. I guess you now know that that is a thing. The shoulder pads are articulated, and underneath the shoulder pads, there is a lot of sculpt work here. And almost no gap. In fact, there is no gap. I don't know what I'm talking about. The Hot Toys one, it has a huge gap at the shoulders. This one, nuh-uh, it looks nice and seamless. The gold, for the rest of him, very metallic, and you also have multiple different shades, like we discussed just before. You've got the darker gold that almost looks like rose gold, and the lighter champagne gold as well. Then, unfortunately, you still have the same issue that I had with the MK43. His chest is just too broad for the ab section, and the reason that's the case is because this mold was designed to separate and go inside the Hulkbuster. So this one, he has that feature for no reason. You're never going to pop this inside the Hulkbuster, at least I don't think you are. But that just means that the chest, it's a little bit wider, and it makes him look a touch more bulky. I just want to say just one more thing on the skinniness of the abs and the thickness of the upper torso. Still the frickin' best looking MK42 in this scale, no question. Marvel Legends can't beat this, ZD Toys I don't think can beat it either, nor do they feel as high quality as this guy does. He is very heavy, there is a lot of metal here. His thighs look seamless, unlike the Hot Toys one, which just doesn't. There is a massive gap up here at the thighs with the Hot Toys figure. This one does have these little moving panels, so when you move the leg forward, these can get out of the way and, fingers crossed, not cause any paint damage. Got more red and silver and gold sections working their way down to the feet. And on the underside, you've got some little peg ports for his blast effects. If you're wondering what he looks like with the wrist rockets on, wow, coincidence, so am I. That looks pretty cool, there's no denying having the missile attached, it just makes him look like a total badass. The question is, where does it go? When Tony's in the suit and this missile, just the little missile, collapses into the suit itself, not even counting the armatures. There is no room with this arm as thin as it is to have a dude inside the suit and a missile stored in there as well. I guess we'll just have to suspend our disbelief this time. You can remove this if you so choose. It's pegged in with multiple little peg ports, very securely, I might add. I also have his blast effects on. Pretty simple to attach. They just go in with straight pegs. The LEDs are on, I promise, both in the eyes and the arc reactor. The button cell batteries are microscopic. You can see the size of this head sculpt in comparison to my thumb. You can only imagine how small those button cell batteries are. They don't contain enough juice to keep the eyes lit up long term. They die very, very quickly. For the arc reactor, it works so much better, and you just push the arc reactor itself to turn it on. One more thing around the back, if you want to connect him to his flight stand, there aren't any crotch grabbers or little waist clamps included. No. You remove this butt panel, and that's where you connect up the flight stand. For a quick side-by-side comparison, on the left, Threezero's MK42, and on the right, Threezero's War Machine Mark II. This tells you multiple things, actually. Number one, Iron Man is taller than War Machine. Number two, the MK43 will also be taller than War Machine, seeing as though it's the same mold as the MK42. And Iron Patriot will still be shorter than MK42, seeing as that's the same mold as War Machine Mark II. It's a multifaceted comparison, if you will. So's this one, I hope. It's the Marvel Legends Gamerverse Spidey, the first version. He's a lot shorter than the MK42. These two I don't think scale well together. Now maybe you can fudge this in the correct pose, maybe you want to have Iron Man flying around in the background, so be it. For me, Iron Man is just too tall. And that's not his fault either, he's just not in this scale, he's 1/10 scale. Whereas Marvel Legends, they're in the 6-inch scale. Going over articulation, starting off with the helmet. It's on an articulated neck with a ball joint down the bottom. And up top, a double ball peg. Looking up to there, which is great for flight poses. Looking down to there, swivel and pivot side to side. The shoulder pads can move up and out of the way, which you do want to take advantage of, because if you don't, they can collide with the rest of the armor and potentially cause some paint damage. No thank you. The arms can go up to there, they will go forward and back, butterfly joint at the shoulder, and peep that moving panel. When you bring them forward, it moves up and out the way for you. It also hinges up and down at the butterfly. Swivel at the bicep, double bend at the elbow going past 90, then for the wrist peg, nothing special, it's just a ball joint. The torso crunches forward to there, goes back to there, swivels and pivots side to side. The legs can drop down at the thigh, and this thigh panel is also articulated. It can move forward to give you even more range. Going forward to there, going out to there, which is very stiff and sturdy on my copy. Swivel at the drop down for the upper thigh. Double bend at the knee going past 90. Then for the ankle, a double ball peg. Good for forward and back, swivel, and ankle tilt. Then lastly, toe articulation, wrapping up on Threezero's DLX scale Iron Man MK42. I dig this suit. This just happens to be one of my favorite Iron Man suits. A lot of people don't think that. They think this color scheme is god-awful. It looks to some people like straight up color vomit. There's too much gold and all of the panels, they just sort of blend in. I can see what you mean. I don't agree with it, but I do see what you're trying to say. There is less red than there is gold, and that is not your typical Iron Man color palette. Everything that was great about the MK43 can be applied to the MK42. It is a very, very solid figure. That doesn't take away the fact that this was their first attempt at a smaller scale Iron Man figure, so there were a couple of areas that needed improvement. Number one, the hinges on the back, super visible. Number two, the LEDs with the button cell batteries, just not great. I would have preferred some frosted plastic lenses for the eyes and the arc reactor. And then we get to just the whole chest area being slightly too chunky. They have fixed that with the newer figures. This one, like I said, is an older mold, so it still has that issue. Are those things enough to say don't get this? Heck no. Get this guy. If you like Iron Man 3 somehow, and if you dig the 42 like I do, This guy will make his way into your collection, I'm sure, if you are collecting 1/10 scale. Most people, they've already sunk a lot of money into their smaller scale MCU displays. I would have thought if Threezero wanted these things to be ubiquitous, they would have made them just a touch smaller and fit in with 6-inch. They didn't. If you like DLX, if you like ZD toys, if you love 1/10, this guy is for you. If you don't, then he's not. Pretty straightforward. I got mine direct from Threezero. Thank you, Threezero, for sending me this review sample, so I could actually make this video. If you are looking to grab your very own MK42, he is available from Threezero. Link to their site is in the description below. While you're down there, why not hit that subscribe, bell notification icon, and join button, if you like the sound of seeing your name in the end credits of my reviews. Like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll catch you in the next video.